must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
And then how, all right, DCI offers 60 million Kenya shillings for arrest of terror suspects who fled. The story is on page 9. And why teenagers are protesting. The story, a special report on the Standard this morning, in the wake of recent fires and unrest we've seen in our schools. The story is on page 14 and 15 of the Standard newspaper. Road project launched by Uhuru stalls. That is on the county sections on page 23. And rich Kenyans fat dollar accounts. The story is on page 31. So that is what we have on the front page. And just before I forget, just still on the front page, from the pitch to the dock, FKF President Nick Mwenda is escorted to a Milimani court yesterday, where police sought to detain him for 14 days as they complete investigation into mismanagement of funds at the Federation. The story is on page 6 of the Standard newspaper. So that is what we have on the front pages of the leading newspapers in the country today. I'll bring in my panelists now. We do have Samuel Tawish, a journalist from Nairobi. Samuel Tawish, a very good morning to you.
Very good morning indeed to you, Miriam Mugutu. Good morning to my colleague, panelist Sharon Gitonga. Good morning to all our viewers watching this program in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world. My pleasure to join you on this program. Good morning, Miriam.
All right, good morning and nice to have you. And we're also joined by Sharon Gitonga. Sharon, a very good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Miriam, and a very good morning to you back at the headquarters in Nairobi. My colleague panelist, Samuel Tawish, and to all our viewers watching us, whether it's the morning, afternoon, or evening, across the country and across the globe at large. Good morning.
All right, good morning, and we shall start with a bit of politics today. And we saw Ruto yesterday was in Mount Kenya, and ODM leader was at the coast, and Ruto takes on Odinga allies in Mount Kenya region. And of course, at the coast, we are told that ODM leaders snapped Raila's rallies. So let's just turn to page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. And before we go further, I think today is the 90th birthday of former president of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki. So he's celebrating 90 years today. So a very warm birthday wishes to you, our former president, Mwai Kibaki. Page 4 of the Daily Nation. Deputy President William Ruto yesterday hit out at Mount Kenya leaders who have endorsed Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga's presidential bid, accusing them of misleading voters. Dr. Ruto took a swipe at Jubilee Party leaders, including Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi, for backing Mr. Odinga, and told them to stop cheating the residents of Mount Kenya and allow them to make their own decision. And that is where we shall start our conversation. And I've seen, that whatever happened yesterday and what Ruto said yesterday has been trending on Twitter this morning. And a lot of Kenyans feel that the way Deputy President directed his words to Meru Governor was not very respectful. I don't know if you watched that clip, and what do you have to make of that, Sharon Gitonga?
Thank you very much, Miriam. And I think I saw some snippets of that clip, and I also feel like it was actually so disrespectful. Because democracy, I mean, every other person has a right to choose who they want to actually vote for. So when he actually tried to accuse him of by the fact that he's actually supporting Raila, it's something very wrong because they also, and this is quite unfortunate, even as I was trying to look at the whole scenario, and I think it barely comes a day when the people daily had actually highlighted on how they've actually sort of getting into a new strategy, especially in Mount Kenya. And one of the reasons they were actually talking about use of defection and not trying to demean the president. And in this case, I believe there's nothing that they've actually they are not good at walking the talk. So for me, I think every person has a democratic right to support whichever candidate, just the same way that we're talking about democracy for him actually being able to transverse any part of the country without any form of violence, without starting anything. But again, when you hear such words that come from him, now I am getting convinced that to an extent he's actually the one who's stirring up violence by the words that he actually speaks out. Because when you look at like in Meru County, you realize that this is actually a divided a region whereby there's a section that actually supports UDA, and there's also a section that supports the former prime minister, that is ODM. So in such kind of utterances that he's seen to actually speak publicly, accusing Kiraitu for actually having to support Raila, could actually also stir up violence because of the people that are from the ODM side. So I think the point of his utterances is something that really needs to be called out, and how we should actually borrow a leaf from other political leaders, how they are doing, how they've been able to conduct mature politics, how the former prime minister has been able to tour even in his own backyard with no backlashes. So I think he puts out his word and his utterances is something that really should be called out.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. And we've seen sometimes his a strategy others will consider a bit combative. But what he said yesterday in Mount Kenya, I mean, democracy means choices. I'm allowed to support and choose whoever I feel I should. And why does Ruto have a problem that some leaders have taken side with who they want to support in 2022, especially in Mount Kenya region, Samuel Tawish?
Miriam, it is simple. The guy is basically becoming restless. Is becoming helpless. He does not have anywhere to run. He cannot understand the fact that, of course, the political fortunes are changing in favor of Raila Amolo Odinga, especially in Mount Kenya region, a place he had hoped so much that maybe it is his to take home. And so when he sees Raila Amolo Odinga making, of course, forays in that region, and there are a significant number of governors out of the 10 governors drawn from the larger Mount Kenya region, including the diaspora, that is Nakuru County and, of course, Laikipia. I mean, you have a record 7 governors who have come out openly, apart from, of course, Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga, apart from Murangas Mwangi Wairia, and, of course, the latest Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, who have not, save for Waiguru, who has declared, of course, support for Deputy President William Ruto. The other ones have remained, the other 2 have remained lukewarm, and they are not yet decided as to which side of the divide they are going to fall into. But the rest of the 7 out of 10, Miriam, are already, of course, behind Raila Amolo Odinga's presidency come 2022. And I think this must have rattled Deputy President William Ruto to a point. He's taking offense that these people are really campaigning and making it easy for Raila Odinga to climb the mountain. Really, Miriam, this is what really epitomizes hypocrisy and dishonesty. And if I should put it this way, Ruto has become more of course, a good example of what a selfish political leader is. Because the other day I saw him in Nyanza region, and he was being escorted, or rather taken around by Migori Governor Okoth Obado. Nobody actually came out to bastardize Okoth Obado, by the simple reason we all understand that Nyanza largely is Raila Odinga's bedroom, if you like. But Raila Odinga or his lieutenants have not come out to castigate or bastardize Okoth Obado simply for inviting and hosting Deputy President William Ruto in the larger Nyanza region. The other time also I saw Alex Tolgos actually hosting Raila Amolo Odinga when he had the Azimio La Umoja summit in parts of Rift Valley, especially when it was being held in Eldoret, if I'm not very wrong. And I did not see Deputy President William Ruto come and castigate Alex Tolgos. How come this time around, a place that he doesn't even come from Mount Kenya region, and as you've always had him really make allegations or claim that Mount Kenya is his home, it is his bedroom, and anybody who wants to come there, I suppose even including the president who is from that region, must actually get permission from him. Miriam, I can tell you that Ruto has realized things are not in his favor. He cannot understand that all of these 7 governors, and even maybe the remaining 2, or even Anne Waiguru, might as well ditch him as we near to 2022. But the question we are asking, Miriam, we have seen him move around with a section of members of parliament from that region. Nobody is complaining. We have seen him move with a section of senators from that region, including a place he was yesterday in Meru County. Meru County is moving around with Senator Mithika Linturi. I've not heard anybody complain that why is Linturi bringing the deputy president to this region. I've not heard anyone really complain why Kindiki Kithure, the senator for Tharaka Nithi, is associating himself with Deputy President William Ruto. And so is the case with other regions, with other, of course, counties in that particular region. So how come that William Ruto is bitter that the governors and the section of MPs or politicians from that region have decided to back the former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga? I think this is a man who's just jittery, a man who's helpless, and he knows that things are not on his side. That is why you see he's behaving the way he's behaving. So he can't quite understand. He's not even understanding himself.
Okay, so something else, Orange Democratic Movement, ODM party leader Raila Odinga continued to receive a cold reception on the second day of his coastal tour as key party leaders absconded his functions. In Kilifi, a region currently perceived as a Pamoja African Alliance PAA stronghold, Mr. Odinga skipped one of his major functions at Mnarani, where he was expected to open an ODM office because of unspecified reasons. All Coast governors kept off Mr. Odinga's tour, with Kilifi chairperson Teddy Mwambire, who replaced Governor Amason Kingi as county chair, hosting the party leader. Apart from Mr. Mwambire, Mr. Odinga was accompanied by Kilifi Senator Stewart Madzayo and the ODM Kilifi gubernatorial aspirant Gideon Mungaro, who is the devolution chief administration secretary. Other elected leaders in the entourage are Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui, his Machako counterpart Dr. Alfred Mutua, Sia Senator James Serengos, and MP Junet Mohammed and Jeremiah Kioni. So what do you think is happening, and is this signs to come of perhaps ODM's popularity maybe dwindling in the coastal region? Or why do you think these leaders did not show up to be with their party leader in the coastal tour? Sharon Gitonga, what is happening in ODM and the coastal part of the country?
Thank you very much, Miriam. And before I get to that question, I have just remembered an incident of, Oscar Sudi, publicly attacking, I think, the ambassador Tarus because of the same thing that he actually declared his, president. He actually declared his interest, to support the former prime minister. So this is actually something. It has become more like a trend, and I think it's something that they should actually be called out for, because when you talk about democracy, it cuts across everything, including whichever interest that I am actually planning, or whoever that I'm actually planning to vote for. Then on the question of I think Raila's tour in, if I got your question right, his tour. Yeah, his tour in Mombasa, and what I can say is that I'm actually impressed by the strategy that has been, deployed by the former Prime Minister and, ODM members at large. Yes, there could be defections, as, we call them, but I mean, they are bound to happen. And, as we talk about democracy, everyone is actually allowed to, move to whichever party that, because you say politics is about interest. So if they feel like, ODM or UDA is what is going to, give them good optics, and because people have different interests. There are people who are looking at, different, whether it's MPs or gubernatorial. I mean, it's allowed. I mean, when talk about defections, it's allowed. But there's something that really caught my attention, and especially when we talk about how, Raila and the team actually conducts their campaign. He's more about issue-based politics. And I was actually listening to him when he was actually in, I think in Kilifi and Malindi, whereby he was quick to actually talk to them about, revamping the tourism sector. And I think he also talked about making Malindi an international airport. See, those are the kind of issue-based politics that we're talking about, not trying to going and to disparage the president, or trying to demonize the BBI, that and calling out different leaders for having failed to do this. And we are talking about at the grassroots. This is what people want to hear. People don't want to hear about let the bygones be bygones, but let's talk about solutions to the problems that people are actually facing. We've had him when he actually went to Meru a while back. He was talking about revamping the miraa industry that had actually actually collapsed, if I could say it. And he actually went ahead to actually say that he would open up markets even in DRC. So I think that is something, apart from defections and all that, I love the fact that he's keen, to address issue-based politics and issues that are actually affecting people of a certain, of a certain county. Thank you.
Okay. And I think he's good friends with Tshisekedi. He used to be very good friends with senior Tshisekedi, who died, who was the perennial, opposition figure in the DRC politics, and then he died, and now his son is the president. I think they have good relations, and Tshisekedi also has good relations with President Uhuru Kenyatta right now. So we'll see. Kama miraa itafika huko, tutaona. Samuel Tawish, why do you think the ODM leaders at the coast snubbed Raila's visit, as the story is stating here?
Miriam, I think sometimes people like to make speculations, and we are reading too much out of these events. And the newspapers, just like they have always been, of course, it has always been the case. They like to sensationalize their reporting so that at least they can maybe get market for their newspapers. Because if you are to report, for instance, that Raila Odinga was in coastal region and all the allies were with him and he had a successful rally, then probably it won't even make news. Someone who will want to buy a newspaper will be so much keen, or they will really want to get to understand when you get such kind of headlines in the newspapers, because they want to get what is really happening at the coast. Is Raila losing grip? But away from that, the fact is, you remember, I know maybe the people they're talking about could be Hassan Joho, the governor of Mombasa. And I understand the governor of Mombasa is out of the country, is officially out of the country. I also understand that the day Raila Odinga flew to Lamu specifically, one of the people who received him was Lamu governor, alongside, of course, Vita MP, Abdul Samad Sharif. And these are key figures in the coastal region. We understand, of course, Aisha Jumwa is somebody in the UDA camp. Amason Jeffer King was just kicked out from ODM as chair of the of Kilifi County, and we should then not expect that Amason Jeffer King would have really come in to host Raila Odinga or even to welcome him. But other than those figures that I've mentioned, really everybody was on board. Other politicians were really on board. They came in and welcomed Raila Odinga, and he has had really a very successful event at the coastal region, including even receiving the defectors from other parties. You understand Gideon Mungaro, who was once, of course, an ODM politician in Kilifi, jumped ship to Jubilee. He lost his seat. He was given, I think, a government job. Now, yesterday, I remember, he declared his support for Raila Amolo Odinga, and even declared that he will be vying for Kilifi gubernatorial seat 2022 on an ODM ticket. So what more will people really need to see or to hear to understand that Raila Odinga's coastal region remains intact as it were, even in the previous elections? So this is just reading too much speculation and just trying to sell newspapers. But I do not quite see that there's so much substance in that kind of reporting. The people of the coastal region still subscribe to Raila Odinga's kind of politics and ideology, and they're really buying into his, of course, Azimio la Umoja. And you can quite see, even with the kind of leadership drawn from that region, almost all of the governors, from Taita Taveta, Tana River, going to Mombasa, and now we have Lamu. And of course, apart from Kilifi, that serving a second and last term in office, they don't care. After all, he has served his term and he may not need any to get elected again. So, Miriam, I don't see so much out of that. It's just for purposes of selling the newspapers. But Raila's support at the coastal regions remains intact.
Okay, thank you so much. There's a story I've been...
Miriam, just a quick one. I think Tawish has said Joho is outside the country. I saw him take a photo yesterday with Moses Kuria in hospital. So I don't know if he's in Nairobi or... I don't know.
Maybe he just flew back, because I understand even for Abdul Samad Sharif, the MP from Vita, you remember the day Raila Odinga flew to Lamu, he was with him, but it's on the very day that he also lost, I think 6 or 4 of his staff members. And I'm sure if it was any other person, of course, this is something that is so touching, and he might have gone really to condole with the family and make sure maybe the staff are given a decent burial. So you'll not expect these politicians really, maybe the likes of Sharif Abdul Samad, to attend Raila Odinga's, of course, political rallies at a time he's mourning the death of his about 4 or so members of his staff. Mm-hmm. I think it is just logical that he had to really skip the other events.
Okay, all right.
And you must have also heard that there was an appeal for Raila Odinga really to shelve campaigns in the coast in Mombasa County specifically because of this, right. Of course, untimely death of the staff.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you so much. There's a story I was trying to look through these papers and see if I could find yesterday. I watched it in one of the television stations about some food meant for relief that the government has offered. You could see the bags were labeled, Government of Kenya relief food to the Kenyans who are suffering right now from drought and famine, and apparently some crafty Kenyans had decided to even steal that food, and I have not seen it in one of the papers. Maybe I'll look for it and we shall discuss it later on, and the lengths that people can go without even shame and a sense of decency. You're stealing from people whose lives literally depend on that food. Okay, so on page 4 of the Star newspaper, we've also been joined by Daniel Wesonga. Daniel, a very good morning to you.
Yes, very, very good morning, Miriam Ogutu at our headquarters in Nairobi. Good morning to my good brother, Tarisho Lesasina, and my sister, Sharon Gitonga. It is indeed a pleasure joining you this particular morning.
Okay. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta's allies from central Kenya are preparing the ground for a major political gathering to endorse Raila Odinga's 2022 presidential bid next week. The endorsement on November 27th in Nyeri will come just 3 days before the Jubilee National Delegates Conference, where the Deputy President William Ruto will be formally expelled as the second in command. At the NDC, Uhuru is expected to reveal his succession plans as he endorses a 2022 pre-election pact with Raila's ODM party. 9 days after the Jubilee NDC, Raila will officially declare his presidential bid that insiders in his camp call his best shot ever. Nyeri Town MP Ngunjiri Wambugu, a key ally of the president and an organizer of the Azimio la Umoja Central Kenya Charter, said the Nyeri event will cause tremors among handshake critics. So are we likely now to see a strong Raila presence in Mount Kenya region, or after this meeting, what will that mean to Raila campaigns, especially in Mount Kenya region? Daniel Wesonga.
Yes, thank you so much, Miriam Ogutu. And of course, this was very much unprecedented. If you would have told someone maybe in the last 1 year, in 2018 or 2019, that Raila Odinga will be actually climbing Mount Kenya and will actually be taking a big chunk, and it will be a two-horse race in Mount Kenya where Raila Odinga is competing with William Ruto. Someone will have mistaken you for someone who is undergoing what we call the dissolutions of grandeur. So to me, I think times are changing, and they are changing pretty fast on the side of Raila Odinga, in that he's gaining more ground, and also on the side of William Ruto, in that he's losing a lot of ground in Mount Kenya. Remember, any converted vote in Mount Kenya actually moves from William Ruto to Raila Odinga, because initially it was projected that William Ruto had 87 or maybe 90% or thereabout of the Mount Kenya vote. But as it is right now, you can see 8 out of 10 Mount Kenya governors are all into the fold of Raila Odinga. You can see a number of Keloeke MPs, Kimani Ngunjiri Wambugu being part of them, the Nyeri Town MP, being very, very close to Raila Odinga. And that tells you where the heart of President Uhuru Kenyatta is. And President Uhuru Kenyatta is the undisputed kingpin of Mount Kenya region. Forget about whatever William Ruto says in his wildest misinformation that he is the kingpin of Mount Kenya. I believe soon things are going to unveil. And the rally that is anticipated to happen in Nyeri is just a preset, perhaps, or maybe a sneak preview of whatever is up the sleeve. I believe in January, like Governor Lee Kinyanjui said, from January going forward next year, it's when we shall know who is who in Mount Kenya region. And we are more likely to see more people, more weighty individuals, people who are opinion shapers, gathering under the tent of Raila Odinga. And that makes you perhaps make of what will be of the 2022 general election. If Raila can garner 30% and above in Mount Kenya region, of which I believe he could even surpass and get 60%, Raila will be president very early in the morning on 8th of August 2022. And of course, that is in accordance to even the closest allies of the deputy president, like Moses Kuria, Mwangi Kiunjuri. They have always said that if Raila will get 30% and above, then William Ruto can as well forget about presidency. So, Miriam, this particular meeting comes at a time when Raila Odinga is gaining momentum in the central Kenya. And you can see that by the virtue of the behavior of the deputy president. He's behaving like a jilted lover. Yesterday, he was in Meru County, hurling epithets at Governor Craig Murungi for advancing Raila Odinga's agenda in Mount Kenya. Why would he feel aggrieved when he chose to work with the MPs while Raila Odinga chose to work with the governors? I think it should be a fair game, and politics should always be described by respect and mutual magnanimity, in that every candidate is allowed to campaign the way they are. You don't feel like someone is taking something away from you, which you are entitled. Being supported by Mount Kenya is not William Ruto's birthright, and therefore he should not behave as if the people of Mount Kenya owe him something in terms of supporting him in 2022. I submit.
Okay, you felt from the statements he made yesterday a bit that like he was entitled. Is that what you're saying, Daniel? Like he was entitled to get the support of the leadership from Mount Kenya?
Yes, absolutely, Miriam Ogutu. You know, when he goes ahead to tell the people of Mount Kenya that they will rather not support Raila Odinga but support one of their own. And in this sense, one of their own, he means himself. Then I think that is selfish and a bit entitled from his end.
Well, then one of their own just gotten a new meaning, I guess, if you were to go with that thinking now. Okay, details gleaned from politicians working on the Nyeri meeting reveal a grand ceremony planned to send a strong political message and emphasize support of the Kikuyu and Luo elders. Before the Saturday event, the Luo and the Kikuyu Council of Elders are to hold a historic meeting in Nyeri on November 26th to help through the relationship between the relationship between the two communities. The involvement of the elders from both sides will be a symbolic ending of the perception about bad blood between the Kikuyu and the Luo communities dating back to the days of Jomo Kenyatta and Jaramogi Odinga. I think I'll ask Sharon this question. Perhaps she has a better understanding, and not because you come from that region, but perhaps you could help us. The elders and the role they play in that community, especially in Mount Kenya region. We've seen them very vocal, and they speak, and somehow the region listens. So are they likely to change the perception of the people from Mount Kenya, or the involvement in this process? Will it make any difference to the voters from Mount Kenya?
Thank you very much, Miriam. I might not be so conversant with traditions that happen, even if I'm from Mount Kenya, but, it's quite unfortunate anyway. I think it's, I don't know. Yeah, but I think to some extent, they really do have a say, yeah. And what they're trying to do is, traditions. And in one way or another, I think I've had stories of the likes of Mugumo tree and, whatever that is said, if you actually cut a tree, I don't know, but somehow it just works. So in the same spirit, I think, it is meant to, they have a say when it comes to, just the same influence.
They do have a say, but does their say matter? To that.
Yeah, because people, especially at the grassroots, actually believe in these traditions. I think there was a story that was making the headlines a while back about a tree that is meant to be. I think they need to meet up before the tree is cut up for to pave way for the construction of the dual expressway. So people in the grassroots actually believe so much in such traditions. So in a way, and they actually believe in the elders. So in Kikuyu community or in Gema community, one thing, if you actually go astray, they tell you, please consult your elders. And people are very keen to actually hear how whatever direction they actually say. But be as all that may, let us not forget that even as much as they are trying to push the former prime minister, is that he's not just seated or even sleeping. He's actually working. He's out, trying to actually gather masses and trying to sell his manifesto. Mm-hmm. So that just comes as a value addition. And it's quite unfortunate to even hear people from the UDA, the UDA crony is trying to call the former prime minister a state project, as if he's just, he's out there also trying to, and, even given his age, he's working really hard, to actually try and gather all these masses at the end of the day. But I think it's safe to say that the ground has now shifted in favor of the former prime minister. And they say if you don't go to the mountain is going to come to you. And in this sense, I think the people of Mount Kenya have been inspired, and that is why they are doing all these all these things. Yeah, so it's a wait and see. Let's wait and see how this pans out. Yeah.
We were having a conversation with a few of my friends the other day, and then a couple of them from Mount Kenya. And so they were giving me some report about the situation on the ground. And the situation on the ground, according to a section of my friends, is that people are actually confused, because in the past elections, a majority of the people from Mount Kenya knew for sure they were not going to vote for Raila. But now there seems to be confusion. So I guess this confusion is a good thing. They'll have time to weigh and see, do I choose? They now can make their choices. I don't know. And so that is the conversation we're having. But the elders in this regard, Samuel Tawish, and we know the role that they've played, and of course their place in the local communities, not just in the Mount Kenya region, but even in other communities. Elders have a special place. So in this regard, apparently the meeting will be symbolic to end the perception about bad blood between Kikuyu community and the Luo community that dates back between the founding father and Raila's dad, Jaramogi Oginga. We know how that story, panned out. So are they likely to perhaps help in solving this acrimony, and will their support for Raila help in changing perception from voters in that region? Their opinion, will it matter in next year's election?
Yes, indeed, Miriam, it's going to matter, and it's going to matter in a very big way. I beg your pardon. I'm saying so because for sure, Miriam, just like you've alluded to in the previous elections, and particularly I think in 2017, I remember these same elders were out there even not only cursing Raila Amolo Odinga, but even trying to curse anyone who was associated with Raila Amolo Odinga. You remember what happened with the SK Macharia, the Royal Media Services chairperson? You remember about that incident when they went, I think, somewhere in those sacred places in the Mount Kenya region, trying really to curse, apparently to curse SK Macharia for embracing or even for supporting Raila Amolo Odinga. But they usually say in Africa that whoever curses you still has the capacity to bless you. And if they are the same people really who are not embracing, they are cursing Raila Odinga, they are castigating him. And this time around, they have a change of tone. They have changed the tune. They are embracing Raila Odinga, they are blessing him. They are, in fact, even the host and inviting him to every other event. So what I'm trying to tell you, Miriam, in essence, is nobody should quite ignore the actions being taken by the leadership, be it the Council of Elders from the Agikuyu community, be it the Mount Kenya Foundation, be it the political elites from that region, be it even President Uhuru Kenyatta himself. These particular actions, I can quite tell you, Miriam, and I can guarantee you 100%, it is going to pay quite some dividends, significant dividends for that matter, especially in favor of Raila Amolo Odinga. If you doubt this, wait until we get to the ballots in August 2022, and you'll quite see a very big difference. And Raila Odinga would have gotten a huge chunk of votes coming from that particular region. And not necessarily because the elders are really imploring on the people of Central Kenya to vote for Raila Odinga or President Uhuru Kenyatta himself. I think they have sat down, they have come back to their senses and realized the person who is honest, the person who has the determination, a person with a clear focus really to steer this country to the next level, a level that each of us really desires, is Raila Amolo Odinga. At least if you are to compare him and any of the candidates who have presented themselves really as candidates for presidency come 2022. Raila Odinga has always remained a formidable force in this country, to a point even that his opponents politically have always appreciated this fact. That is a man to reckon with, is a man who has enough muscles politically, and a man who endears to the electorates not only where he comes from, the Luo Nyanza, but I think to most parts of this country. And that this time around, it is going to be quite exciting that even Central Kenya, who have not voted for Raila Amolo Odinga for a considerable period of time, or ever since he got into active politics really as a presidential contender, are so much excited and enthusiastic that they are going to really vote for Raila Odinga. So these actions should really worry the opponents of Raila Amolo Odinga. It should really worry Deputy President William Ruto and anyone who's trying to bid for him in Central Kenya. Do not wish away, do not ignore that the actions of these elders really are just nothing. I can assure you that it is something that most of the people from that region really listen to, and even most of them really would want to go by the decisions that they make or the suggestions they make to them. I submit, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. And this upcoming meeting, Daniel Wasonga, and the events that will culminate to Raila Odinga announcing his candidacy for the presidency next year, do you think the Nyeri meeting is perhaps what has gotten DP Ruto on the edge because of the magnitude and the impact and perhaps the symbolic, the symbolism that will come with even the elders meeting and all of that? Do you think that is what has sent jitters in DP Ruto's camp?
Absolutely, Miriam Ogutu. Of course, any effort, any meeting, any caucus that will meet in order to re-energize and maybe thrust some force behind Raila Odinga will always work against the clout and the support base that William Ruto had predominantly gained in Mount Kenya region for the 4 or 5 years he's been campaigning there. Remember, William Ruto started campaigning even before anyone could start. And I remember some of the political players were actually trying to compare him with an athlete who starts to run even before the race is declared. And now that Raila Odinga now has shown the signs of getting into the field, he has not yet declared, remember. He's going to declare that perhaps in 9th of next month. And any action right now, Miriam, is just setting the preconditions. And of course, that has a very, very huge significance. Because remember, these are not just the ordinary Mount Kenya voters, but these are leaders who have thousands and thousands of supporters. So if they're going to be meeting as a community together with the elders, as my good brother Tarish says, that this is going to have a very, very strong significance. People always say that President Uhuru Kenyatta is going home after serving his 10-year term. Of course, he's going home, but remember, he has an influence as a president and as a long-serving politician who has been in this particular realm for over 30 years. So to me, I think his vote matters. Whoever he'll be able to influence to vote for Raila Odinga really matters. And that could be actually the only difference that will give Raila Odinga 50+1 to beat William Ruto. So like my brother Tarish says, we should not actually, Tangatanga should not take this for granted, because at the end of the day, every vote matters. And let me erase this assumption or maybe assertion that Raila Odinga is a state project. Raila Odinga has been in this particular political realm for over 50 years or so maybe, because he began politics with his father, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, walking around with him. And in all these, he has run for presidency for 4 terms. And all these times, he has been accumulating a support base for himself. So he's not just someone who's being picked out of the gallows and then being brought by the state, funded, and then maybe people are being forced to support him. Remember, he has a traditional support base. If you go to Mombasa, you might find an old woman, an old man who supports Raila Odinga religiously. If you go to the northern frontier, you'll get someone who supports Raila religiously. If you go to Kisii, if you go to Kisumu, you will find a Raila diehard, someone who believes Raila has done something good for this country and therefore deserves to be given the presidency. And that is actually the banner under which we are actually rallying for this particular election. You've heard David Murathe, Maina Kamanda, talking about a Mandela moment. Raila Odinga has done so much for this country, in that even giving him just a single term to serve as president will be so much rewarding, and it will tell you as the people we are actually maturing in terms of democracy and in terms of celebrating people who have done great things for this country. So Raila, one, is not a state project. And of course, regarding your question, any step, any meeting or any caucus or any endorsement that is given, be it from a normal folk in Mount Kenya, or be it from an MP, a governor, or an MCA, or a senator, or be it from the Mount Kenya Foundation, or even Mount Kenya elders, it will be a very, very great boost to his candidature. And that means it will be a great blow inversely to the Deputy President, William Ruto. And that could be the reason why he has some jitters at this particular moment. I submit, Miriam.
Okay, very well. And I know we have to go now because we do have a show at 11 a.m. But from just what you've said there, Daniel Basonga, reminds me of statements President Uhuru Kenyatta made a couple of months ago saying, if you want to come to Mount Kenya, you cannot come through the back door. You have to come through the front door. And by all this, how Raila is doing it, I don't know if, Sharon, quickly, if you would consider that the right way of trying to engage a different community. Is this the right way? Is Raila doing it the right way?
Yes, definitely he's actually doing it the right way. And, this should actually speak volume to, the UDA cronies that think that Mount Kenya is, their bedroom. Ground has shifted, and I think we're in a season where political reins are beating so hard that every other politician, every other leader is trying to seek for shelter. And how I would wish that these other leaders from the defection side would actually, smell coffee as early as now, before, that the seats are, or rather the table is actually full, and they will have no spaces in the table. So I think what he's actually doing is quite commendable. And even when you look at how he's actually conducting his politics, it's, very uniquely. And I mean, it goes without saying that, people have, been inspired by his, way of, conducting politics. And, there's something that he's so keen about, his optics. And there's something that he really said for him, he's not just about, people, he's not just about followers, but he's seeking to have partners. He's seeking to, create a bigger platform for engagement. So it's not about whether whoever started, at how many years they've been doing this, but about the good optics, especially when it comes to, getting engagement and, partner, not just followers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know Tawish would want to chip in something in, but we have to leave now. Sorry. Maybe we will on our next show. There's a lot of very interesting things that I'm sure Kenyans would want to know that is the government is doing. And so I think this perhaps is a conversation we can have tomorrow as we continue looking and paying a spotlight to President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. What is he doing? What has he not done? What can he do better? What can he improve on? What is it that Kenyans can celebrate as far as right now we are concerned? So we shall have that conversation tomorrow if we can. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time, Samuel Tawish, Sharon Gitonga, and indeed Daniel Basonga. This has been Good Morning Africa. Don't go too far. We shall be right back with another show. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good morning.